What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's the Game Week 14 preview. Quite a bit of stuff to get through, revolving around two key topics. So surprise, surprise, got a lot of questions about blanks and double game weeks, but also quite a few about premium players. Should we get in Kane and Son? If you've got rid of them, when's a good time? And I wanted to go through a little bit of perspective and look at some numbers. So I've done quite a bit of work on this video to kind of improve the look of it in certain places. Obviously, for some stuff, it's not going to matter, but for certain bits, it's good to have the numbers and stuff on screen. So I've done that for this one, so I'm going to go through that. And of course, all the blank and double game week questions. Now, I have done a whole video on that already, so I don't want to keep answering the same things over and over because I think it'll just get boring to listen to. But if there's different angles or new pieces of information, we'll obviously cover it in this video. So in particular, we're looking at players to target for the double game weeks in this one, as well as a bit on strategy as well. So if you do enjoy it, please do give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump into it. Okay, so the first topic, unsurprisingly, is the double game weeks, and there was a lot of questions basically around it, and specifically how to plan for it, game week 18-19. Now, I have done a double game week video already on the channel, a guide to it, so if you want to check that out after you've watched this one, make sure you do that. But I'll be honest, it's very difficult to give advice on how to plan, like specifically for your team, because not everyone's got the same players, right? If you've already got, like, I don't know, just for example, triple Chelsea, triple Man United, I know most people don't, a couple of Liverpool players, a couple of Leeds players, then you're in a different position because all those players have a double game week than someone that's maybe got Man City players and Everton players and Aston Villa players who are all playing in game week 18 but don't have a double game week. So the strategy for those two teams is completely different. And then you throw in what chips people have got as well, then the strategy is even more different again, right? So for the first wildcard, if you've still got your first wildcard, whether you play it this week in game week 14, 15 or 16, and you have to use it by then, by the way, so make sure you do, it doesn't entirely matter, but you're going to have to plan for game week 19. And if you've got your first wildcard, you don't have to do this, but it makes a lot of sense to use the wildcard, plan ahead to game week 19, ignore game week 18 completely, use your free hit in that week, and probably bench boost in game week 19 as well, right? It's the easiest time to bench boost is after you've wildcarded. Game week 19 is probably going to be the biggest double game week that we get this season, so it makes sense to use your bench boost. So if you've got your first wildcard, this is easy, I think. You just go for that strategy. It makes sense. There's not really any reason to kind of put off doing that. And we're going to have more double game weeks later on. Before I get asked when they are, we don't know yet. But there are more matches that will have to be rearranged or haven't already been rearranged. So things like triple captain, right? Man City, Man United still have another fixture to kind of rearrange as well. So in terms of triple captain, there's going to be other opportunities. So if you use your bench boost in 19 because you've wildcarded them free hit, it's not going to make too much of a difference having to use your triple captain later on. So that's perfectly fine. If you've not used if you've used your first wildcard, I still wouldn't use that wildcard again too early. This is where it gets difficult because for some people, their team is going to warrant using a free hit in 18. For others, it's going to warrant using a free hit in 19. Now, I've given this a lot of thought since I made the video yesterday, I believe it was. And the free hit in game week 18, the only thing about it is it's very uninspiring, right? A lot of people have already got Spurs players. Man City, again, a lot of people have got them. And then outside of that, you know, you've got Calvert-Lewin, who's heavily owned already. And then we're looking at fixtures like Newcastle versus Sheffield United, Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. Now, maybe in seasons gone by, we would all go be all over that Arsenal fixture, maybe get a defender in, goalkeeper, Aubameyang, whoever it might be. But right now, I'm wondering, do I need to use my free hit on it? So if I've got a good team for game week 18, I might free hit in game week 19 instead and get 11 double game week players in my team because I don't have a wild card to use. Now, this is what I'm going to do. Right, I haven't quite done it yet because this only got announced yesterday and there's been loads of videos and stuff to do. And this is what I would advise you to do, again, because your chips and your team are all different, is build the perfect, I say perfect because obviously it doesn't always work out like this, but build the team. If someone said to you, here's a free hit for game week 19, this is the team you want, build that and then work backwards, right? How many of those players do you already have, right, first of all? And then from there, how many can you get? And also, when you look at how many of them can you get, right? So, for example, I've only got one Chelsea defender, and we're going to look at the fixtures later, but I think the Chelsea defenders are quite good still to go for and for the double game week. So if I wanted a second defender, Reece James, for example, I'll be asking myself, right, I can get him quite easily. He's not that expensive. But who do I have to sacrifice? And realistically, it's Reguilon. Now, at that point, Reguilon's got good fixtures and plays in Game Week 18. So at what point do I want to make the Reguilon to Reece James switch? So what game week do I want to do that? That's one transfer gone. Then how many other transfers can I do? And then when I've worked all that out, you then want to look at, well, okay, how many players have I got different from my perfect team to the one that I can realistically get with transfers? And if at that point it's not good enough, maybe that's the time to use your free hit. If it is good enough, maybe you use your free hit in Game Week 18. There are people I know that don't have their first wildcard and aren't using a chip at all in Game Week 18 or 19, or at least not using the free hit, and they're managing it without. So maybe you save up 2 free transfers for Game Week 19, and then you take a few hits, maybe take an 8-pointer or a 12-pointer, and just getting as many double Game Week players as you can from that. But it's worth remembering, we're about to go into Game Week 14, so that's one transfer, unless you've got one saved up already. Game Week 15, Game Week 16, 17, 18, that's 5 transfers until Game Week 18. And obviously, if you use your free hit in Game Week 18, there's no transfer, and you can't roll one because you will only get one for Game Week 19. So potentially only 4 transfers to use if you're free hitting. So the only other thing I would say is look, I guess, at what you're sacrificing. So if you've got your perfect team and like the team that you can realistically make, what have you sacrificed? But also you've got to remember, what are the points you're going to get before that? So again, just to give you like an extreme example, in my perfect wildcard team, it might be Jamie Vardy, right? For example, I would say if I could free hit this week, I would go for Jamie Vardy. But realistically, I can't get him because I want Harry Kane from Game Week 16 to 18. So then I have to tell myself, okay, I've sacrificed Vardy for the double, but before that, Kane's got better fixtures. Spurs in general have got better fixtures. Kane is arguably the better player, so I want him instead. So yeah, I might lose a few points in the double game week, but I've gained a lot from 16 to 18. So there's a lot to weigh up, and I know everybody wants me to give them the perfect strategy plan right now, but it's impossible to do because you all have different chips and you all have different amounts of players or different types of players. The one thing I'll leave this on is those of you that don't have your free hit, all right, and you don't have your first wild card, the only thing you can do is try and have a mixture of both, right? So maybe go into the blank game week with kind of 7 or 8 players, and then set yourself up for Game Week 19 with another like 6 to 7, and then take a few hits to get up to kind of 8, 9, 10, 11, however many it might be. It's also worth remembering for the double, you don't have to have 11 double Game Week players, right? Especially if you've not got your free hit or your first wild card, right? You can just maybe have, I don't know, triple Spurs, 2 Man City, Calvert-Lewin, that's 6 players for the blank. Maybe you get a couple more to go up to 7 or 8, some cheaper players. And then in Game Week 19, all those players are still going to play. And maybe you swap a couple to double game week players. You've got a few cheapies on the bench like Dallas, whoever it might be, and you go from there. So I'll leave how to plan right now because it's only been since yesterday anyway. I don't have a plan myself. I need to build that wildcard team and then go backwards from there. That's what I would recommend you do. And then see who you're missing out on along the way. And I know, again, people want the perfect team, strategy, chips, etc. But it's impossible, like I said. So have a go at it and then ask me any questions you got in the comments below. And then we'll look at some players that I would be looking to target for Game Week 19. So let's say you're wildcarding in Game Week 19, you're free hit and whatever. You just want to start building a team towards those players right now. And a few people ask me which players would you look to kind of get in now that also have a good double game week. And this is a good strategy, I guess, for those of people that are free hitting in Game Week 18 because it doesn't matter that none of these players are going to play. Now, there's a good few teams that have got a double game week. I think the 6 that I would be looking at are Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham, Man United, Leeds, and Burnley. Now, Burnley in particular don't have the greatest double game week. West Ham away, Liverpool away. But realistically, there's only a couple of players that I'd be looking at there. Charlie Taylor, I think he's only 4.4 million, and Chris Wood potentially if you needed a cheap striker, but I think the likes of Bamford are probably better. Maybe Che Adams even as well. I've not even put Southampton on this list, but they do play Leeds. That is something to consider. Now, the thing with Burnley is, especially Taylor, maybe less so Wood, he's only 4.4, but also the fixtures are really good beforehand, so he could even be a bench fodder for more difficult fixtures, or if you need a defender right now, he'd still be good to play. And Burnley have been quite defensive. Now, I'm recording this before the Aston Villa game and the Man United game just to be able to get it out to you before the Game Week 14 deadline, so I don't know what Burnley are going to do against Villa, but they have been pretty good. And before the double game week, they've got Wolves at home, Leeds away, Sheffield United at home, and Fulham at home. So really good fixtures for Charlie Taylor, and he plays in Game Week 19. So especially if you're going to bench boost, for example, that would be a good option. Liverpool, I mean, what more do you need me to tell you? Robertson, Trent, Salah, Mane, all good. Man United at home, Burnley at home is really good. And again, the fixtures beforehand are really good as well. Palace away, West Brom at home, really good captain fixture for Salah, that one. Newcastle away, and Southampton away. So Southampton away, okay, could be quite tough, but overall good fixtures, and they got a double game week. Mo Salah could be a triple captain option. Chelsea, I'm not sure about the attack. I think Pulisic's just too hit and miss in terms of injuries right now. Ziyech is out. Werner's just not doing it, and as far as premium players go, he wouldn't be anywhere near the top of my list. So it's all about defence. Fulham away and Leicester away is not bad. Could see a clean sheet against Fulham, maybe one against Leicester potentially. And obviously you've got attacking potential for Zuma, James and Chilwell. And again, the fixtures are okay beforehand. West Ham at home, Arsenal away, Villa at home. Could you see them getting 1 or 2 clean sheets there? Potentially. Then Man City at home in Game Week 17 is tricky, I won't lie. But I mean, the fixtures are quite good, and I'm not too put off by what's happened with Chelsea the last couple of weeks. I don't think they're now a disaster team to target for defensive returns. West Ham, one of the best, I would say. Burnley at home and West Brom at home, probably the best fixtures in the double game week. Yes, we can start talking about Sam Allardyce now. He's the manager of West Brom. Will he make West Brom more defensive? Potentially, but on paper, that's so good. Burnley at home, West Brom at home. And then again, before that, Chelsea away this week in Game Week 14, so not great. Then Brighton at home, Southampton away, Everton away. So not bad. Not as good as the double game week, but not bad beforehand. So I won't say it, but you know who up front I would be thinking about. Souček on your bench is a good one to have. And then you can bring him on for the double game week potentially. Bowen is really good as well. And then in defence, Sufa at 4.6 million seems like a bargain. And if you happen to want to make a goalkeeper transfer, then you've got Fabianski as well. Man United, Liverpool away, Fulham away. Not quite the best. Obviously, having to play Liverpool away is not that good. But beforehand, Leeds at home, Leicester away, Wolves at home, Villa at home. So quite good fixtures. Fernandes obviously an option. Maybe a defender, but I don't know if there's going to be enough slots to get a Man United defender in. It's only really Rashford I would look to outside of that. And I just don't think he's going to be that viable just because of the price. Leeds, really good options because Bamford's super cheap. You've got Dallas in defence as well. I know they haven't been keeping too many clean sheets, but he's quite attacking. Brighton at home, Southampton at home. Really good double game week. Beforehand, Man United away, not great. But then it's Burnley and West Brom before Spurs away. So I think the fixtures are good enough to warrant maybe putting a Dallas on your bench at times or playing Bamford week in, week out and having him for the double. They are 2 players I would definitely look at, and Meslier as well. Because if they can nick a clean sheet in one of them, he's also a really good shot stopper. So save points are potentially there as well. And that's just going to drive the points up over a double game week. So really like the look of him. And then lastly it's just Burnley, like I said. So they're the players that I'd be looking to get in. I think West Ham in particular, Soufal and Bowen look good, and Souček, especially if you can get a bench option. Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United are good as you know, and then Dallas and Bamford look good as well. So if you're free hitting Game Week 18, they are players I think you can start to target now who have good fixtures. But obviously you have to remember the likes of City and Spurs in particular still looking really good, and you don't want to not transfer them in just because you're going for like Dallas on your bench or something like that. Okay, so premium players, right? I'm going to talk about, whether we should get Kane and Son back if you've sold them, whether we should even keep them if you've still got them in a second. But first of all, I wanted to give a little bit of perspective, right? And the reason for this is there's a lot of talk about premiums. There has been for like weeks at this point, right? Because we've been talking about captaincy. Should we get Fernandes in? Should we drop Kane? Should we drop Son? Should we get De Bruyne in? De Bruyne's just blanked against West Brom. Does he now need to go? Etc, etc. And I think sometimes we need to just sit back and look at the numbers. And another reason for this, and I think I mentioned this on the last preview as well, but I want to bring it back up, is I keep seeing tweets and YouTube comments saying, you haven't got Kane or Son, they're hurting my rank. If I've not got Son this week, how am I going to get Green Arrow? I've not got Kane, that's why I've got no Green Arrow. I don't think that's the case at all. So the numbers on screen are their FPL points. Now I've gone for season totals, that's obvious, you can see it on the site. And then I've worked out the last 6 fixtures and the last 4 fixtures as well for how many points they've got and how much you've really been harmed by potentially selling the likes of Kane or Son and going for someone else. So last 4 is what I was kind of tweeting about, but I've also looked up last 6. So Mo Salah, for example, right? And before anyone tells me, I know you can have multiple combinations of these players, and obviously if you timed it perfectly right, you could got a lot more points in this. Like if you got rid of Kane before a blank for Salah before a haul and then swapped back, you maybe quids in. But most of the time people don't do that. They just get one for a few weeks, then maybe swap to another one. So Mo Salah, 52 points over the last 6 weeks. The best premium, right? So forget Kane and Son. it's been all about Salah. Now, obviously, there's other things that come into contention with this, like prices. So Salah is over 12 million, Son's less than 10 million. So there's a lot you can do with that money. So that's something to consider. But for most people's teams, I think they've got 3, maybe 4 premiums. And having Salah is not necessarily blocking the other ones. It might block you from getting a 5th. Like if you had Son, Fernandes, Kane, like some of the cheaper ones, you could probably get 4 or 5 if you don't get Salah or De Bruyne or something like that. If you had Werner, for example. But ultimately, 52 points for Salah, brilliant. Next up, Fernandes, 49 points. So still no Spurs player. Then it's Son on 43. And then it's Kane on 38. Only 2 ahead of Kevin De Bruyne. And a few weeks ago before Burnley, people were saying Kevin De Bruyne was no good. But yet he's only 2 points behind Kane over the last 6 game weeks. And then if you bring it even closer to the last 4, again, Salah out on top, 35 points. Then it's De Bruyne. So even though he's blanked against West Brom, he didn't blank, he got the 4 points, but you know what I mean. He didn't get an attack in return. The week before that, he blanked at Man United. Then he got the 14 points against Burnley, the 10 against Fulham, I believe it was, or maybe that was the other way around. But either way, 31 points. So he's then only just behind Salah. He's ahead of Fernandes, ahead of Son, ahead of Vardy, ahead of Kane. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? You keep seeing this Kane and Son are hurting my ranks. Well, Kane's got the least amount of points in the last 4 game weeks out of all of them. He's got 25. The problem is, people check their ranks mid-game week when they're playing, and because they're so highly owned, of course your rank's going to decrease if you don't own them. But overall, that is not what's hurting your rank. That's what I'm trying to get across here. Having a combination of these premiums is just about having the right ones at the right time and making sure you've got your captain in place, which I've been saying for weeks, right? So Kane's actually bottom of the last 4. It would have been better to have Jamie Vardy or Son. Even if you had... I sacrificed Son for Fernandes in Game Week 13. And again, I've not seen the Man United match yet because it's not been on. So maybe that was a bad decision because Son got 9 points. But over the last 4 matches, and I should say Fernandes hasn't played yet in Game Week 13, but this is over his last 4 matches. I can update the totals once he's played in Game Week 13. He's matched Son. And like I said, Kevin De Bruyne is ahead of him. So a few weeks ago, Fernandes was essential. Well, I didn't have him. It hurt. You know, he got those hauls against Everton and West Brom. And to be fair, if you had him over the last 6, he's only been beaten by Salah. But over the last 4, Kevin De Bruyne has suddenly been a better option. You know why? Because the fixtures were quite good and he did quite good. And I wouldn't write him off just because of that West Brom game, right? Yes, it wasn't great for him and City, but they still created plenty of chances. And so, yeah, this is basically my way of saying, stop worrying about Kane and Son so much. Yes, they're very good. And I'm not saying you should ignore them, but they are not the be-all and end-all on your rank. I've got Salah, De Bruyne, and Fernandes right now, and they are the top 3 players. Fernandes obviously equal with Son, and we'll see what he does against Sheffield United. If he doesn't beat Son's 9, then fair enough, it was a mistake. But over the next 2 to 3 fixtures, could Fernandes be better? Maybe. Obviously, if you've got 4 of them, even better. If you've got Salah, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Son, or Kane instead of Son, you're looking good. But yeah, hopefully that helps because I think a lot of people looking at their teams and worrying they've not got the premiums, and we're almost moving them around so much. You're forgetting about the other players that can also score points. Your defenders, your cheaper midfielders, your cheaper strikers, and it's all fixating on these premium players. So try not to panic too much, but also get Mo Salah. So this kind of ties in with the last bit about getting whether we should get Kane or Son back. If you haven't got them, obviously if you have, fair enough, you just keep them at this point. So I've got the fixtures up for the 4 main teams I would say that people are looking at because let's be honest, no one's buying Werner right now. No one's probably buying Jamie Vardy. So it's Liverpool, City, Spurs and Man United. And Spurs' next 2 fixtures, Leicester at home, Wolves away, they're okay. They're not brilliant fixtures. They've just lost to Liverpool. Arguably, maybe had the better chances, could have won, but they've just lost. How will they bounce back now against Leicester and Wolves? These could be tight games. And so if you haven't got them, like I haven't got them, for example, right? You know that. Instead of Leicester at home and Wolves away, I've got Salah with Crystal Palace away, West Brom at home. Definitely better for me. I've got Kevin De Bruyne with Southampton away, Newcastle at home. For me, that's 2 better fixtures. And then in Man United, I've got Leeds at home and Leicester away. So Man United and Spurs both play Leicester in the next 2. So then it's Leeds at home versus Wolves away. And again, I think Fernandes probably just about edges it. Now, again, I have to keep reiterating this. This is not me saying Son and Kane won't score because they probably will. And you've just seen from the last image that I showed you, the points have been pretty close, right? Even though Kane got 25, which is the least, he's only 6 away from Kevin De Bruyne over the last 4. It's 1.5 points per match. So it's not, massively worrying if you held on to Kane, right? You've saved yourself a transfer and he's cheaper. You've been able to do more with the money, so it's fair enough. But if I didn't have Spurs players right now and I had a combination of kind of Liverpool, Man City and Man United, I'd probably hold for the next two. And again, this isn't taking into account blank game week 18 and double game week 19 strategy. You might have a strategy where it's worth getting in Son and Kane right now to kind of make sure you use up one of your transfers if you've got two, for example. But that's getting a bit minute on the details. So for me, looking at it simply, game week 14 and 15, if you don't own Kane or Son, you've got a mixture of Fernandes, De Bruyne, Salah. I think that's the better combo for the next two. After that, it gets more interesting. So then they have Fulham at home, Leeds at home, and then I think they play Villa and Sheffield United in the blank as well. It's Villa in the blank and then Sheffield United in the double. That's a really good set of fixtures. At that point, I want to jump on at least one of Kane or Son. Now, my preference is going to be Kane for definite, for captaincy, etc. But you can't really begrudge what Son has done with his points as well. So I think having either for captaincy could be good. But again, it's worth pointing out that even when Spurs play Fulham at home in game week 16, as you can see on the screen, Liverpool play Newcastle away, and Newcastle are rubbish. So Salah could be really good as well for a captaincy that week. And again, you go to game week 17. So let's say you captain Salah instead of Kane, and it works out. Maybe it would, maybe it won't. Then in game week 17, again, you got Leeds at home for Spurs. Could be a really good fixture, but Bruno Fernandes then plays Villa at home. That's also really good as well. So not saying don't captain Spurs players in 17 or 18, but there are other options. And I think for the next two, if you don't already own them, you can probably get away with it. I don't want to keep going on and on about premium players, but obviously they are a really hot topic right now. For me, I've got De Bruyne, Fernandes, Salah. I'm not really worried about it. I think Man City will score enough over the next two. And so will Liverpool and probably Bruno Fernandes as well. But Kane or Son, definitely on my radar for game week 16, but I don't think they're a priority for the next two. So there we go. That's the end of that one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if it was useful, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already. I know it kind of revolves around just two main topics, but when I checked out the questions that were posted, it was all double game week stuff. Is Kevin De Bruyne really still a good option when Kane and Son are doing so well, etc. And that's why I wanted to give that perspective and kind of talk about them going forward. Again, if you've got Kane and Son, absolutely keep them. If you haven't, I don't think you need to be absolutely panicking and ripping up your team. That's kind of the long and short of it. In terms of kind of other Man City players, yeah, they're more of a rotation threat. Maybe Diaz is good in defence, but outside of that, I'm not sure how many I would be targeting. So next week, there might be some more kind of issues and stuff that crop up. Literally at the end of recording this, I've just seen that Konza isn't playing for Aston Villa, so it's maybe not too much of a worry for most people, but that'd be interesting to see what's happened there. So yeah, maybe there'll be some more topics for next week, maybe a bit more specific stuff around the blanks and double gamings rather than larger strategy stuff, which like I said is quite difficult to cover in just one video for everyone's different kind of combination of stuff. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you've got any other questions, leave a comment below. And I'll just do a quick shout out to everyone on Patreon as well. If you've not checked it out, patreon.com/letstalkfpl, link in the description below. There's extra perks over there, Slack access, WhatsApp access, early team reveals, extra Q&As and stuff like that. So if you want to check it out, link in the description below. And everyone that signs up goes up on the Legends wall. So big shout out to all of you that have already signed up and are supporting me and the channel. Much appreciated as always. I'll leave the video there. This is probably going to go out early Friday, even though I'm recording it on Thursday. And then hopefully I'll have captaincy later on Friday, and then a deadline stream on Saturday. So loads more content to come. My team selection video is already up, as well as my video covering just blanks and double gaming. So make sure to check them out if you haven't already. And I'll catch you again soon.